This is episode 522 on the 18th of May 2022. The greatest rivalry or the greatest gimmick. Those who have followed hockey and cricket know that two countries fight for the position of dominance whenever they play each other. They are neighbors and they have been doing it for a better part of 75 years and more. They do it in two sports, they are dominant in other sports as well, but these are team sports, and these sports often bring out the emotions in everyone, even if it's the newspapers, the individual themselves, the teams, the staff involved, and other miscellaneous groups. But the question is, which of the two sports brings out a greater rivalry or the greater gimmick? Well, for the past few years, the scale has tilted towards the sport of cricket. We have to understand that these two teams play only in international tournaments for whatever reasons, which is not important right now. In hockey, also, they only play in international tournaments, that is, tournaments in which other teams are playing. So there is no one to one private bilateral series. In fact, in hockey, there is no one to one private bilateral series. So, is it hockey or is it cricket? Both teams have had successes in respective tournaments, whether it is the Asia Cup, the Commonwealth Games, the Olympic Games, or the World Cups, or other such tournaments. So, which is bigger? It's very difficult to know. If you tell someone that today is an India Pakistan match, they will automatically assume that it's cricket, but they'll say my schedule didn't have. I checked all the websites, none of them said it as an India Pakistan cricket match. And if you tell them it's India Pakistan hockey match, they'll say it's only hockey. Who cares about hockey? And India doesn't have a concrete national sport. We try to say that it's hockey, but there is no official formal national sport. Why do we go towards hockey? Well, that's a question which even I cannot answer. But which is the greatest of the two? Of course, is it the greatest rivalry or the greatest gimmick? That depends on the marketing stunts which happen before the tournament. It happens every 2 years whenever a major sporting tournament happens. In hockey, there are so many. There is the Commonwealth Games, the Asian Games, the various Champions Trophy and the Asia Champions Trophy, and whatever other tournaments are organized by the Hockey Federation, International Hockey Federation, or Federation of International Hockey. In cricket, only the World Cups, and at a smaller scale, the Asia Cup. So these are the important dates to remember. 5 days from today, India takes on the neighboring Pakistan in a hockey match in the Hero Asia Cup. So it's not clear whether this tournament will be televised. There has been no discussion around it. A team has been announced which does not have the so-called big names. You've had individuals like Rupinder Singh who came and reversed his retirement plans. It's something new, it happens. But 23rd May 2022 is the Asia Cup. Whether it's televised or not, that depends if the broadcasters see it as a source of great revenue. And of course, a bigger one slightly, because everybody will be televising this. Private channels, public channels, radio, websites, pseudo media, electronic media, print media, pages will be dedicated to this match. The second one, the first match, maybe not so much because of what happened last year, it will get more coverage. But For now, we'll talk about this coverage later on. Let's focus on tonight's game, that is Calcutta taking on Lucknow. Now, this is a must win situation for both the teams if they have to qualify for the semi finals or playoffs and get a top four position. It's a very interesting story because even Lucknow are not guaranteed a top two spot because of what other teams can do. Now, teams like Delhi, Bangalore can challenge Lucknow and Rajasthan for the top two positions. All of them may finish at 16 points. Rajasthan or Lucknow, one of them may finish at 18 points with 9 wins. So you never know what's going to happen. We can put Gujarat on a different pedestal because they have done decently and they have reached the semi-finals, and they will get, if they lose the first match, as is the rule of the semi-finals over the past 11 years, the change in the format, they will get a second chance. In fact, whoever finishes 1 and 2 will get a second chance, and that's why the scramble to finish 1 and 2. You could find Rajasthan finishing at 16 points. If Lucknow lose tonight, they might finish at 16 points. If Delhi and Bangalore win their last matches, they may end up with 16 points. But the net run rate comes into play when teams like Calcutta, Punjab, and Hyderabad, up to some extent, two of them could go to 14 points. And if Delhi and Bangalore lose their last two matches, you may find Calcutta, Punjab, Hyderabad trying to replace Delhi and Bangalore. So it does become a very interesting situation. And we can leave out Chennai and Bombay because they have been eliminated. For me, despite Hyderabad winning yesterday, I still think it's a low chance, but you never know what can happen in this particular tournament. Let's focus on tonight's game as Lucknow takes on Calcutta. Both teams have to win because if Calcutta win, they go to 14 points, and with their superior net run rate, they might cross Bangalore to go to a number 4 position. Still, not everyone is qualified as far as this tournament is concerned, except Gujarat. Even Lucknow with 16 points have not qualified, which is a very strange situation, but that's the situation and that's what is. So here we are, Lucknow batting first after 3 balls. They are after 4 balls, they are 4 for 0. Find themselves in a very interesting situation. And if they have to win, as we have seen over the past few games, if Calcutta can restrict them to 150, then Calcutta has a chance of chasing that 150. If Lucknow somehow can get between 160 and 170, which they can, they have the pedigree, as Umesh Yadav will be bowling to Quinton de Kock, who pulls and it beats the wicketkeeper top edge. It happens in these matches and it goes to the boundary. The first boundary, streaky but effective. How do the boundaries come? It really doesn't matter. Top edge and a boundary, and the run rate immediately goes to 9.5 runs per over. And despite the effort of the keeper, he was not going to stretch and hurt his shoulders. They were not going to catch it, and this happens. Top edge, pace on the ball, the size of the bat, the small grounds, who knows? So 8 runs of the first five balls, and this one is defended, and 8 runs of the first over, and Lucknow have some kind of sense in this match. But let's discuss something different. As you know, there are commentators in this particular tournament, but most commentators would not even get any kind of a deal. So this is the special for tonight. Rate the commentators, and this is how I rate the commentators in this particular tournament. You may see I may have tilted the scale towards one individual, but then that individual has been doing it, and a name is missing. Of course, I'm missing in this list, but then I'll give myself 10 on 10 on any given day. So yes, Ravi Shastri is at number 2, 9 on 10, and then you can see the rest of the ratings. Why? Because the same individuals rate the performance of the players, but why they should not be rated themselves, and you can see the rating. You can see that they're lucky to be there. But we'll talk about that later. As we get ready, Rahul, to face Tim Saudi, another good New Zealand bowler. Once again, defense and no runs. Of course, the form of the player is in question. We saw Bombay trying to chase 190, but winning the toss and bowling first backfired. Rohit did well. I still think Ishan Kishan is a future captain. But there are so many captaincy contenders right now. There's Rahul, there's Iyer, up to some extent, even Hardik Pandya can do a bit of captaincy. Just if they split the whole white red ball game, if they do that, they can do that. If they split 50 overs, 20 overs, and 5-day games, you saw how England has a separate 50 over and 20 over coach, and they have a separate 5-day coach. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. As 2 balls, 8 balls, 9 1. So decent start, not a fast start. We expect that every ball will go for a 4, every ball will go for a 6. It doesn't work like that. If we and I think 160, 170 will be a good score. Anything less than that, and Lucknow will struggle to defend because for Calcutta it's a do or die situation. For Punjab it's a do or die situation, and for Hyderabad, as they say, do or die. We have reached such a stage. This is not surprising that we have reached that part of the tournament after nearly 14 games. This will complete the round robin games for as on the pads, fine line inside the circle, and it was more square as it happens with small ground with 70-meter boundaries. I think each ground should have at least 90 95-meter boundaries, even if the boundary ropes are pushed back. On the pads, even if they appealed for LBW, it was pitching outside leg. It is a good delivery, but the batter got enough bat on it for the boundary, and Lucknow have reached 13 for 0 with Quinton de Kock taking the initiative for Lucknow. And a few weeks and around 10 days from now, 3 weeks from now, he'll be part of the 20 over tournament which India and South Africa will play. And he'll be on the opposite side of Rahul if Rahul is not part of the 5-day team. So, 4th ball, well defended, well bowled. So, 10 balls, 13 runs at an average of 7.8. And at this rate, we'll discuss the first 5 overs as usual. So 10 balls, 13 runs, averaging around 7.8. It's a decent start by the team. You never know what's going to happen next. You might see an inside edge onto the stumps or inside edge past the keeper to the boundary for 4. Anything is possible in this particular sport. As we get ready, in Saudi bowling his 133, 134 kind of balls. Once again, defends straight to mid-on, good bowling, decent over, 1.5 balls, 1.5 overs, 13 for 0, exactly at 7 to the over. So they might get somewhere between 150 and 160, unless, of course, the likes of Jason Holder and Marcus Stoinis, who are brought for humongous amounts, explode. Can they explode? The question always has been who should bat at what position. This is not hockey, this is not football where all the 11 individuals play together, where positions are only superficial. Here it does make a difference. Once again, short, wide, but straight to the fielder and they get a single. I wouldn't call that a misfield. You shouldn't be calling a misfield because it's sometimes the ball can bounce and you cannot expect batters to be robot that they will collect every ball. It can happen. You can make an error. Error is part of being a sports athlete. So as I said, in football, hockey, and such team games, whether you are a defender, a forward, these are superficial positions and it doesn't matter where you play. Your ultimate goal is to score a goal in the other side's goal. So what position you are, except the keeper who is not supposed to go too far, who's supposed to defend the territory. In cricket, this debate of who should bat at what position, I find it ridiculous. I don't see the substance in this particular conversation. If that's the case, why don't we push the number 11 guy to number 3 and then we can later question the logic of it. As Umesh Yadav bowls, he pulls, but one bounce straight to mid-on. So trying to get the power on the ball, but not getting enough on that. And then he got a bottom edge. Had he hit, it could have gone straight to the fielder. Had he hit even more harder, it could have gone over the fielder. So, or had he missed, it could have been an LBW appeal. You never know. So 2.1, 14 for 0. Of course, strike rates and averages make such a difference. So if a Kohli is strike rate is 125, not good enough. Rohit is batting well, but the strike rate is 125, not good enough. I think 125 is a good strike rate. This time it's a top edge and it has, well, would you call it a drop catch? No. It was a brilliant effort by the fielder. I will not call it a drop catch. It was a good effort. He came running in, and if the ball bounces off the palm of your hand, accept it, but don't label it as a drop catch. Top edge, great effort by the fielder, but if it sticks, a great catch. I will not call it a drop catch, unlike the other individual, and that is why this is the rating, because everyone will call it a drop catch, whereas only one or two from this group have ever caught a ball and know what it takes to catch a ball. And drop catches are part and parcel of the game. Will it hurt them? It always hurts. For me, only Suresh Raina and up to some extent Ravi Shastri are genuine fielders among this group. Rest of them, I wouldn't even call them players, but they are there. You have to accept the fact, and they've all dropped catches. I've seen old footage where the likes of Gavaskar have dropped catches, and but they all have amnesia. They don't remember. So easy to label it because you're in that room. You can say yes, it's a drop catch. It should have been taken. It should have been taken. Everything should be taken. The Taken movie should have been taken. So I don't really go with that redonkulous concept. If it's dropped, it's dropped. Had it been taken, just give the. Sometimes you can pull off catches, sometimes they just spill out the palm of your hand. It's not the end of the world. You're not playing for your country. You're just playing a redonkulous domestic tournament for fun. You'll get the paycheck. If you don't do well, you'll be sitting on the bench, but you will still get the paycheck. And of course, the footage will be played again and again because even the broadcasters have lost their sensitivity and their soul, so to say. But that's the nature of the sport. Calling it a drop catch is easy because, well, if you drop it, you're not good enough. Why are you there? You should have run in harder. You should have judged the ball in the night sky against the artificial lights. As 2.5 overs, 16 for 0. So a slow start by Lucknow so far, but this is what happens. You start slow in the first 3 overs, and the fourth over goes for 15, 16 runs. The batter just explodes, couple of flick shots through mid-on, couple of cover drives, and it beats the fielder inner wing, and you get a boundary. And of course, things like average and strike rate have become so important. For me, they don't. I, I had already told you, Kohli will not strike at 160. He's a 135, 140 kind of batter, and accept it. This time it's been hit for a six, pulled away, and 8 of the over. As I said, you never know. Top edge goes for a six, and Lucknow take the run rate to 7.1 runs per over, as we are just 2 overs away from tonight's program so far. A decent start by Lucknow. If Lucknow can get to 160, can Calcutta chase it? Well, we have seen in the last few games how the games have been, we don't know how the games will be. We have seen 190 being chased, but we have seen totals around 160 being defended, and with now teams will most likely win the toss and bat first. And after 3 overs, 22 is a decent start for Lucknow. They are the newbies. Calcutta has been doing it for 14 years, but those past things don't matter. And well, while everyone says that Gujarat and Lucknow have done well, on the other hand, Chennai and Bombay have not performed up to the expectations and all the glamour around them. I still think Lucknow and Gujarat have a long way to go before they can emulate what Chennai and Bombay have done over the past 14 years. There will be a situation where you don't do well. Of course, 14 games is a lot of games. So, of course, 4 wins and 3 wins is not enough. But then Lucknow and Gujarat have just started. It's all the adrenaline that's coming through, and with a nothing to lose situation. As a spinner comes in inside the power play or the fielding restriction, I don't mind that. You never know. They call this some ridiculous term called the matchup. I don't agree with that, but they have a term called the matchup. So for me, it really doesn't matter. If you're a good batter, you can play against any bowler. If you're a good bowler, your job is to bamboozle the batter and get him or her out. Whether after the batter gets out is it the skill of the bowler or the error of the batter? Keep debating. As 24 for 0 after 3.1 overs, matchup and head to head has no substance. This is just for the data scientists or the individuals who show off this through their statistics. People obsessed with numbers, so they throw numbers. So for me, it doesn't really matter. So 3.2 overs, 24 for 0 at an average of 7.2. But next ball, but Rahul, once again, it's put away, but only for a single. So they're just trying to make sure that they give a stable base to the rest of the batters, which will allow them, if they can get between 75 and 80 in the first 10, that will allow the likes of Marcus Stoinis and Jason Holder and Deepak Hooda, I think, has a long way to go for the Indian to explode. So anything between 75 to 80 or better 80 to 85 in the first 10 overs and around 50, 55 in the first 6 overs will be something that will be decent. Of course, there will be a time when there will be a collapse or there will be a slowdown as it happens in these matches. But you get to 160, 165, and Lucknow may just triumph Calcutta. And if that happens, and Calcutta's tournament, you can bid Calcutta's tournament goodbye, which will give an opportunity for Punjab and Hyderabad and Delhi and Bangalore to fight for the last 2 positions. And then the Rajasthan game, their final game, will also have a lot of impact. The whole logic of finishing 1 and 2, because the team 1 and 2 get a second semi-final, and of course the whole redonkulous concept of playoffs and qualifiers and eliminators and whatever, which brings parity to everyone as the score moves on to 26 for 0 in 3.5 overs, still going around that 6.5 to 7 mark. Is it slow? Well, I don't think so. But will this affect the batters down? Well, as I said, if they can get between 75 and 80 in the first 10, it's a good start because it's decent. Once again, Rahul pulls, cuts, but good bowling, smart bowling, just 4 of the over, and you can see the frustration mounting on him that I have to now start hitting it. So let's see what plans does Rahul have in mind, or Quinton de Kock, who might be opponents in the next 10 days. So as we get ready for the final over, let's look at this rating once again. Go through it very, very carefully because this has been curated over the past 14 years. A couple of new individuals retired over the past 3-4 years, others who have been doing this for a better part of 15 to 20 years, and you still need, and still they haven't crossed that line. Only 2 individuals are the best in the world, me and Ravi Shastri. I get 10 on 10, and of course Ravi Shastri gets 9 on 10. Wait for the final over of tonight's program as Lucknow look to get to 18 points and secure a position. But if Rajasthan wins, then it will be a very interesting situation because they have a slightly healthy run rate. As we get ready for the final ball, as Umesh Yadav comes in for his third over, he generally finishes before the last 5 overs because he doesn't bowl the Yorker and the slower ball, as Quinton de Kock was trying to pull, and that didn't hit the back. did was their bat involved because he was trying to play the. I think there was something on the bat, but they did not appeal. I think it missed the bat. No one appealed. Maybe there was a bit of bat involved. No one appealed. Neither the keeper nor the captain nor the bowler. Kundanikov pulls but finds the ball in no person's land and they take a single. So he too is struggling to get the ball away. But it says Lucknow, so you will give them that leeway. If this was Chennai trying to play like this, you would have said, what is happening? Why is Chennai playing like this? And that is why they are at the bottom of the table, and that is why they haven't qualified for the semi-finals and eventually the finals. This was Bombay, poor start. Chennai, you would have gone extra critical because of what has happened so far. But because Lucknow is on 16 points, they will be given the benefit of the doubt. So 4.2 overs, 27 for 0. Any other team except Chennai and Bombay would have not got that harsh criticism. Rahul pulls, will this be a catch? No, this will be a six. Stand and deliver on the pad. Then Rahul says, well, I have enough of just honking the ball around. I will get this ball over the boundary for a six and I will make sure that my strike rate remains above 140. On the bats, as I said, I told you this will happen in the fifth over. A couple of inside edges, a couple of top edges, and a couple of genuine shots, and this is that over where they realize they have to start exploding. So they go slow for the first four, they go berserk in the last two, then they go berserk in the last five, and they slow in the next 10. That's how it happens. So 4.3 overs, the last three balls of tonight's game, and it's following a very similar pattern which every other game has followed. Once again, as I said, cover driven, but not with much authority and good field placing. You might see Rahul and Shreyas Iyer become back to teammates. So they were not teammates for the past 70 days. They might be en route to which will take the ship to England, and a few fringe players, though not for the first time will you see fringe players as a part of a team, but that's how it is. I'll talk about that on a later date. So final two balls of tonight's program. Rahul once again tries to pull, but gets the boundary because the ball beats the inner wing. As I said, a couple of streaky shots, and now taking the aerial route, and now taking that aggressive route beats the fielder. Of course, you would call it a misfield because it's gone through. But I will still not call it a misfield because if I get 1 cent for every time a fielder misfields, I'll be richer than Elon Musk. It's a good effort. It goes through. Let's accept the facts. So the final ball for tonight's program. So far, it happened exactly as I said. 26 in the first 4 overs, and then suddenly 10 in the next 5 balls. Once again, this time it's hit straight to point. 12 of the over, 5 gone, 38 for 0, and a bit of an acceleration which was badly needed by Lucknow. Let's look at this once again for the final time. This ends episode number 5:22 on the 18th of May 2022. I will be back with episode number 523 on the 20th of May 2022 at a regularly scheduled hour.